Hi, it's David from lightsonabbey.com. I hope you all had a good holiday show season. I did. I'm glad it's over. Halloween and Christmas made for a long couple of months, but now we get ready to start for next year's show. One thing we're going to add for Halloween are wings on our mega tree, so we have a flying dragon. And today I'm going to go through making the mechanism and take you along for the journey. Let's go. For today's project, I'm going to go over the tools we're going to be using and all the materials. As you can look across the table here, I've got some sheet metal there. Those are mounts for the box, some 1/2-inch conduit, a piece of square tubing perforated, ammo box, a power supply, a wiper motor, a Matos pixel to motor controller, and that's about it. Let's go ahead and get to it. I've already drilled the holes in the ammo box, so I'm going to show you how it's assembled and how it mounts on the pole or wherever you wish to mount it. Let's get to that. Like I said earlier, I went ahead and pre-drilled the ammo box. I laid the motor up next to it, figured out where it needed to be drilled, and I did the same for the mount. I've also put gland nuts in the end for the power, and then the two in and out. The way I put it together, I felt that it wasn't strong enough to hold the weight, so I made some plates out of some 18 gauge sheet metal, and the plates slide into the box. And once they're in the box, I'll slide the motor through and set it all up, and you'll see how it goes together. So now that you can see the box is in, the plates are in, excuse me, it really is just a matter of getting the motor in. I put some washers on the back here to help hold the motor in place, and you'll see why in a minute. So it just slides in, goes through the holes, and the mounting bolts go from the outside in. Make sure I use fender washers to help hold the plastic, and that binds it all together against that piece of metal and makes it very rigid. The washers fell out, so I had to put them back on. Again, they're just to help hold the weight, so they're probably not needed, but I tend to overkill stuff. So now that they're in place, make sure you use a fender washer. And just screw in the bolts into the side of the motor, and it holds in place. Now I'm going to crank these down with a wrench, not that one, with this 3/8 wrench just to make sure they're tight. Excuse me, it's not 3/8, it's 10 millimeter. What a strange world we live in. So I just crank them down to make sure they're making good contact and that metal's being pulled in the other side. So everything's tight and it won't move. Okay, that's tightened up. Now the power supply just slides inside right next to the motor. And with that other piece of metal in there, everything's tight. Nothing moves. It just binds up right in there. The mount I chose is, got it on the Amazon. It slides in the two holes I drilled. And it's used to wrap around the pole that you're going to mount it to, or however you're going to mount it. Again, this is the mount I chose. You can mount however you want, of course. It's your build. There's no need for a washer on this side since it has the mount plate. So just thread that through, put the nut and the washer on the back. if I could balance everything. And tighten it all up. One more, and this is done. I use nylocks on those. Nylocks will keep them from backing out. Not like it has any need to have a bond that strong, but again, I like to overkill when I build stuff. With the mounts in, let's go ahead and tighten those up. I believe they're 7/16. And they are. You may be wondering, why did I choose this mount? I have a round Megatree system where the pole goes up, and this one, the pole goes around it, and you use hose clamps to tighten it to the pole so it doesn't move. So it's a pretty neat little system, inexpensive, quick to put on, as you can see. It works for me, it may work for you. Again, your build, you do what you like. I think this is going to work out perfectly for what I need. You get it straight and tighten it up. Okay, it's done. It's all tight and ready to go. Next step. You may be wondering, what are all these wires over here and everything, right? Well, this goes to the power supply, and he really doesn't have any of this marked. It just says, it doesn't even say in and out anywhere on the box. So I had to figure out what was in and what was out and wire it accordingly. This is the in for the power. The other side is X-Connect. I changed it over to Raywu because I use Raywu. And the other side is the out. So the comes in one side and out the other. This runs on 1 pixel, so you set up in your show as 1 pixel. And when it's red, it comes on, the motor starts. Depending on the brightness of the red, the motor goes faster or slower. So that's how all this works. I'll put all this together in the box later, but I just wanted to show you how that goes together. I've taken a little bit of time and pre-cut everything so it'd be easier to assemble. These are pieces of 1/2-inch conduit cut at 32 inches. This is a 36-inch piece of square bar perforated on 4 sides. This is another piece of 1/2-inch conduit, 56 inches long. These are 2 pieces of 10-inch long, 1-inch wide galvanized flat bar, 1/4-inch holes drilled at both ends. As you can see on the ends of these, they're flattened out and a 1/4-inch hole drilled, as well as that one, a 1/4-inch hole drilled. We'll be using different size 1/4-inch bolts and washers to assemble. Here's a Heim joint I'll be using, some eye bolts, and more nuts and bolts are going to be used to make this happen. So let me sit down and we'll get this put together for you. Put it all together. Again, I'm going to tighten it loosely and come back later and put nylocks on it. So my motor has a 6-inch throw. So I marked on here 6 inches. So with the position it's at, which is right here, 6 inches from there is going to be right here. So let's see how much flapping we do. With the 6-foot wings, that's going to be about 5 foot of movement at the end of the wings. Again, your math may be different. This is what I came up with. You can change the amount of flap at the end by changing the length of this arm and where these holes are drilled. But this is what I came up with. You may be asking, are my wings going to mount on this? No. I'm going to flatten out the end of this and put 2 bolts in it. So I can bolt my wings on here, so when I'm done for the year, I can take my whole mechanism down. Here we have the completely assembled flapping mechanism. 6 inches of movement. That's how far your wings are going to flap on your dragon. So here's the assembled mechanism. It's loosely bolted together, but it is functional. As you can see, 6 inches of movement takes the end of the wings pretty far. It is making some noise. I'm going to put some lubricant on that so it won't make noise when it's up there. The motor will be attached at the bottom end here. It has a 6-inch crank on it. It'll be connected with a rod on the end of here to the crank. And as the crank goes around, it'll move back and forth in the end of this. Let me go work on that mechanism now. Let's get it done. Now I have the unit completely built and installed on the pole. Let's take a moment and go look at it and see what it looks like. Sorry for the bright sun. It is January and it's about 50 degrees out, so that's pretty nice. You can see the box is mounted with hose clamps on the pole. The mechanism with the camshaft, this is how it's, crankshaft, this is how it's all put together. Bolted right directly to the motor. Then there's an offset so this doesn't hit the arm. A heim joint, these are all 5/16, quarter inch. These are quarter 28, this is quarter 20. This is a connecting rod that goes up to the bottom. I made a shaft here by bolting this together, and then this can move, see how it moves there so it doesn't get bound up. The eyelet has a 3/4 conduit bushing in it, cut down and glued in with Gorilla Glue. I put a point where I run a bungee cord up, and the purpose for that is to allow it to offset the weight of the wings. I left the hook on in the event I need to add another bungee. I can run it up there to help offset the weight. It's mounted with 2 pieces of wood. I'm going to paint these later black, but I'm going to run some bolts through. But it's just clamped on the pole. Same at the top. Let me move a ladder in place so we can show you the top part. Okay, we're up top now. Again, it's just using deck screws, just screwed onto the pole. Here's the other end where the bungees are connected. Again, a 3/4 bushing. The pivot points have multiple washers in between them, and I'm going to cut these off later, but again, just quarter 20 bolts. This one, again, I made it as if it were a shaft. I don't know if you can see the nut in there. So it's bound up here, and then this is left loose, so there's room for that to shake and move. Up here at the top, another heim joint bolted through, again with a jam nut. So it builds a shaft, so this all stays loose. But that's how the whole mechanism is put together. Let's turn it on so you can see it in action. Making no noise, it's working perfectly. Again, the bungee is used to offset the weight of the wings, which aren't on here right now. But when they're put on here, again, that can be adjusted for the weight of the wings. Going to the bottom, down this ladder. Make sure I don't fall off because gravity sucks. There's the connecting rod. Go into the wiper motor. That's how the mechanism functions. I do have to make some modifications. The motor, as you can see, is moving a little bit. I have another mount to put on it, so that'll straighten that out. But right now, I think it's about done. The controller inside is, again, it's from Matos Designs or Matos Engineering, and it's actuated when you turn on the red color, so it works as 1 pixel. As you can see, I've just got a pixel tester connected to it, and when I turn on, it's green on this one. It's green and red are backwards, but it turns it on. And you adjust the speed by changing the brightness. See, it's slowing down, barely moving. You can get it very slow if you want, and then change the brightness, turn the brightness up, and the speed picks up. So there's the whole mechanism working and functioning. I hope this is useful for you to build your own if you wish. Next thing is determine what wings you want to put on it. Again, this is a wing mechanism for a Halloween show, so we can put dragon wings on our tree. Let me move back so you can see what it looks like. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope you go have some fun making wing mechanism for yourself. Please continue to look at our site and find any other educational videos we may have, as well as sequences. We have about 50 sequences out there, all with every model in there that's available. Moving heads, pixel field, high density, low density, native models, easily import to your house. So take a look, and if you can support us, that would be great. Thanks for watching.